But a very different story now. I'm joined in the studio by Australia's second longest serving federal politician, Alan Cadman. Welcome, Alan.
Well, thank you.
Look, you entered Parliament in 1974.
That's right.
How did that come about?
Well, I guess I was involved in a lot of community organisations, and people said, why don't you run for Parliament? I wasn't particularly interested. They prevailed, however, and I said, well, I will try. And on the first attempt, I failed in pre-selection, but I was told, no, we want you to go to the federal Parliament. Mm-hmm. And that came about, and I went there really keen to represent families and small businesses, and I think that was the story of my life in Parliament. Families and small businesses.
Now, you knew what it was to be in government. You also knew what it was to be in opposition.
Yes, well, you know, I saw the great Whitlam years firsthand, and the dismissal.
Yeah.
And then into government with Malcolm Fraser for a period, and then a long period in opposition with Bob Hawke and Paul Keating. And I got on well with Bob Hawke. Yeah. I found that despite some of his shortcomings as I saw them, he was a very decent Australian.
A lot of Liberals say that, don't they?
Really? Very decent Australian.
Yeah. And again, a son of a manse, really, wasn't he? There was a Christian tradition there. Even if he didn't embrace it himself, it was there somewhere.
Indeed, it was. There's no doubt about that.
Tell me, Alan, what is your biggest memory, then, of that time in politics?
I think my biggest memory is the regard I have for my colleagues. It's a great privilege to be elected to the Parliament, but from the outside, you listen to people speak and you wonder, why on earth is that man or that woman in Parliament? But when you get to know them, you understand wherever they've come from, their commitment to the benefit of Australia and doing the best thing that they know how for their constituents and for the nation. And I think that was the thing that impressed me most, from all sides of the Parliament, the commitment to the nation.
We're going through some very challenging times now. All over the world, it seems to be a revolving door on leadership of every kind of party. But it's while you're a politician, your Christian faith develops in a very meaningful way. What brought that about?
I don't know. I think I was at a stage where I was searching for new ideas and new impacts on the Australian community. Where are we going to as a nation next? I like to look ahead and sort of be ahead of the mainstream of thinking so that we can be ready with answers and ideas to support the nation. And so I started looking at the Christian faith. I went to church in a nominal thing. My wife and I usually had an argument on the way home from church. I wasn't a very good Christian. But during that time, I really did a study of Christian faith and realised that I needed to have a relationship with Jesus Christ and with the Holy Spirit to be able to have a rounded view of Christian faith.
I don't want to be cynical here, but many people are happy for the politician to be a nominal Christian, decent guy. But if you get too excited about it all, it doesn't seem to fit in any party fully, does it?
So it does not, and you come up against criticisms and comments like that. But I found that in making decisions, it gave me a clarity and an understanding what the real issues were in a way that I'd never had before. It allowed me to go to the core of decisions, and when you're a legislator in government, it is really important to not understand the wants, but to understand the real needs and to get down to what the real needs of the nation or the individuals involved are. And I found that I had a great deal of clarity and calmness about decision making. Was life easier? No, it wasn't particularly much easier, but it was smoother, and I had more confidence in the way in which I went about things.
And I think in the coming years, for Christian politicians, these issues about the family and about euthanasia, and there's a whole pile of things, isn't there, building up ahead of steam, really. Yes. And we're going to have to stand up, aren't we?
Well, I think those are the issues that exercise the Parliament. I've never seen the tensions and the exchanges of ideas across party lines more strongly than issues such as euthanasia, abortion, stem cell development.
Indeed.
Those sort of things where the conscience, the values of people are tested.
And if I dare say this, because although we film here, we go across the state, in one of our parliaments in Australia, it was only one vote that made the difference between accepting an attitude about euthanasia, and it's so easy for things to change, isn't it?
That was, yes, and I still remember And give credit to Kim Beazley and John Howard in the way in which they together led the nation to reject euthanasia.
It's going to be very, very interesting. What was the biggest social changes you saw during your time?
I think the biggest social changes were ones where we were able to really target need rather than make blanket decisions. Whether there were needs in housing, whether there was needs in shelter and accommodation, whether there were needs in families with children, whether there was needs for employment. It was able to actually target more carefully those in real need rather than a blanket decision that never satisfied anybody in particular.
Alan, thank you ever so much for giving us a bit of an insight into your politics and political life, but most of all, your Christian faith, which guides you and leads you and is still the stay of your life. Thank you for sharing with us on our Wesley Impact Show.
Thank you for having me.